Well, it's nice to see the few of you that have made the time to join us tonight. So we'll get started here. This is the Town Council meeting for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023, right here in the Yucca Valley Community Center Yucca Room. And the time is 6:02. We'll start off with our roll call, please.
Council members Abel.
Here.
Droz.
Here.
Lombardo.
Here.
Schooler.
Here.
And Mayor Dennison.
Here. I'm going to go ahead and I haven't had the opportunity to do this year, so I'm going to go ahead and lead us off in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have an invocation by Pastor Paul Miller from the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church following the invocation, or I mean the Pledge of Allegiance. So please remain standing. So join me for the pledge. Join me in the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We pray. We pray. Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, you give gifts to mankind that they might be of a benefit to others in this world. And so tonight we ask your blessing upon this meeting, that the individual gifts and talents that you have been bequeathed, that will be utilized for the benefit of the town community. And we ask that all things be done decently and in order, the conversation be civil, and that your blessing be upon this night. Your will be done. For we pray in the name of your Son, our Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Pastor. So now I'll be looking for approval of the agenda.
Mayor, if I might, on the agenda, we did not have listed presentations. It's an oversight on staff's side. What we would like, if it's the pleasure of the council, to hear a presentation this evening regarding Domestic Abuse Month and the recognition of that. From Unity Home, we have Susanna Barnett that can provide that update for the council if that's the pleasure of the council.
Yes, it'd be very welcomed. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi,
My name is Susanna Barnett. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you, Mr. Giacomo. I appreciate it. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month in our nation, and Morongo Basin Unity Home is always, representing and making sure that our community is aware of our Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we're having a fundraiser, and we would love to see everybody there. I know I've seen some of you there supporting Unity Home for many, many years, so I appreciate that. I've been with Unity Home for over 26 years, so I know that, I've seen some of you there representing the town and, the law enforcement and everybody, so thank you so much. So we want to make sure that, we represent and talk a little bit about our domestic violence shelter that we have in the area. And when I was talking to Mr. Giacomo, I was telling a little bit about all the services that we provide, and not only, in this community, but in other communities that are affected by domestic violence. And one of the programs that we do have since 1993 is actually the transitional housing that the town of Yucca Valley has given us as a, opportunity to have 10 apartments. So when our families that flee domestic violence, they have a place to go after they graduate the shelter. So that is a 2-year opportunity for these families to get back on their feet, to be, self-sufficient, and we assist them with everything. So I just want to make sure that the town of Yucca Valley is, aware that we are so grateful for the transitional housing. And those apartments, a lot of domestic violence organizations don't have transitional housing. So that is another opportunity for these families who flee domestic violence to have, a safe haven to go to. So I just wanted to make sure that I appreciate you all so much for letting us have these apartments for the last 30 years. And so these families are just able to stay safe. And with the funding, we were discussing this also last month. Unfortunately, we're being cut next funding year. Over 50% with our VOCA money, which is Violence Against Women Act, which is state and federal money. And unfortunately, we're getting a pretty pretty hit with 50% of our money that we are utilizing to help these, families and children. And just up till now, we've had over 215 families from January 1st to September 1st in our shelter program. Then we've had over 797 hotlines that come through, and our hotline is 24/7. And we also have a bilingual counselor that answer these hotlines. So there's a lot that happens within Unity Home. And that's what our fundraiser, we try to, that is an opportunity to substitute some of this funding that's being cut. So we're able to do this by, doing fundraiser twice a year. And October is our largest one, which is at the Boys and Girls Club on October 28th. So, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that, October is, I wear the purple ribbon because that's the color of, I got your attention. So I want to make sure that, I represented Unity Home and stand here in front of you guys and let you know that we need everybody's support attending, our fundraisers, coming and even visit. I had, spoken to Mr. Giacomo that come and visit the transitional housing and see where your money and your support is at. These families are just so grateful for these 2-bedroom apartments. And, it's just something that, and with the wear and tear, because obviously they're 30 years old, there's always something that's needed. So, and because of our funding being cut, it's something that we're going to have to need to get somewhere else. So that's why I'm here. I just want to make sure you guys are, in the back of your mind thinking, okay, we need to support Unity Home. We need to support all of these families. And we also are in the high schools teaching teen dating violence. And we do the break the cycle with healthy relationships. And we've been doing that since probably 2005, and we're all in all the high schools in the Morongo Basin. We also do the Boys and Girls Club. So it's just something that we are passionate about for the last 41 plus years, to be part of this community and show how all our services are, needed, and to let all of you know. So any questions?
Mayor, if I might just add a couple of additional comments. The town is very grateful for Unity Home and the work that they've done. As you know, prior councils made the wise investment in those homes and made them available to Unity Home under a lease agreement for this purpose. Based on the numbers that you're hearing tonight, the need is substantial. And so as we continue to work with Unity Home and providing this service to the community, not only is it a shelter for domestic violence, but it also allows folks an ability to come into a place that's affordable. And we've heard so much about affordability issues, and for these individuals, they wouldn't have any other place to go. So we're very grateful for the work that Ms. Barnett and her team is doing on behalf of Unity Home. And in your packet, your next agenda packet, we will actually have a proclamation for Domestic Violence Month that you can provide.
All right, excellent, thank you. And thank you very much for all of your work.
Can I just add one more
Yes.
thing, and I'll be done? I know I've
please do.
got 3 minutes.
This is
So
important.
during COVID, a lot of domestic violence shelters had to close their doors because they couldn't bring in, due to CDC and all the regulations. We actually came up with, at the time, our transitional housing, or ours, yours too, is that we were able to utilize 2 of them that were empty as quarantine. So we didn't deny any new families to come in and have, the safety they needed. So we were able to utilize those and have, these families come in for 14 days. And so we were still within the CDC regulations. We wanted to make sure that, all these families, because, 4 women are murdered every day due to domestic violence. So we wanted to make sure that these families are safe. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're thanking us, and I have to say thank you. It's a very important service in our community. I have been to the homes, and I've found
Yes.
that they come available. They're outfitted for someone to be able to get away from what they're challenged with into a safe harbor, and then to be able to take advantage of those homes.
Correct.
So I'm glad that you're there to facilitate that and make sure that it runs good and continues. You've talked about going all the way back to the 90s, which is very important.
Right.
That we are not going to give up on the programs.
I appreciate that, because it is
Very much.
important.
And it's
Thank
the
you so
Wild
much.
West Showdown, correct? That's coming
Yes,
up next
yes.
Saturday, a week from Saturday, this coming
Yes,
Saturday.
the 28th, correct,
Okay.
the last Saturday in October, so.
All right, always a good time.
Yes.
Any other council members? Thank you very much. for
Thank you
taking
so
the
much
time.
for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Mayor, you had asked for the approval of the agenda. We just wanted to note that item 2, the department report for SB 1383, we would ask that that be tabled to a subsequent meeting. Our primary staff key member on that item is out sick this evening, and we wanted her to be able to provide that update.
All right, thank you for the notification. And we'll look for that at a future date. So right now, we'll go ahead and continue with the approval of the agenda with the change that was just noted by staff.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All right, we have a motion. and a
I'll second.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Dennison.
Yes. Thank you. So right now, we have just one item on our consent calendar tonight, and that is, pardon me? Okay. So that'd be our regular meeting minutes. So without any ado, do we have any from the public that would like to speak on the consent calendar item of the minutes from September 5th? Seeing no one here online? Nothing? Okay, so any questions from the council?
I'll move we approve
Okay,
the
and I'll
consent
second.
agenda. Item number.
Oh, Lombardo moved it, and you second? Oh, no.
Didn't second,
Oh,
so-
oh, me then. Okay, I'll second.
Councilmembers Abel,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Dennison.
Yes, and thank you. So for our one item on department reports will be item number 3, 2023 council initiatives and ideas dialogue.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. It's a little bit different this evening. We don't have a busy business agenda, and this is really an opportunity for the council, subsequent to prior requests from the council at different times of wanting to have a chance to sit in the public and dialogue about things that the town is doing currently, things that the town is not doing, things that the council is interested in further exploring. And so this is your opportunity to do that. So we're going to walk you through just a couple of introductory slides. The intent of this is really for an open dialogue. Sometimes it feels a little bit awkward, and I think until you get going, but we'll try and give you some tools to walk through some of the things that we've heard over the past year or two. And then we'll start with just giving you the overall view of where this fits. So all of this is an effort of your 2023 strategic plan activities. That's your middle circle there. And what we do is use these ideas and initiatives. We also, as you heard at your last council meeting, accepted the community livability survey results from Dr. McClarney. I think that was very helpful. We'll go over that very briefly today. And then through this process, we gather your council input and priorities, ultimately coming into a strategic plan then that is finalized and adopted for your next upcoming planning period. The 2023 Community Livability Survey was presented to you at your last council meeting. I've summarized really the takeaways from that. These are, back in the day when we used to do strategic planning, we would have the boards up along the wall and we'd have a number of different initiatives. We would have, if we're lucky, 20 or 30 people come in and provide their dots on things that they thought were important. The beauty of the Community Livability Survey is that it replaces those 20 or 30 people with a statistically reliable data sample that captures your entire community. So much better in our view of trying to ensure that we hear from the community what it is that's important to them. These 10 items, again, some of these are not going to be a surprise to you. Some of them may be new, a little bit new, but no real big surprises here. Maintain and repair infrastructure. Maintain law enforcement, crime prevention. Attract commercial businesses to town. Improve the look, appearance of the town. One of these that is a little bit newer on this livability survey is number 5, work with property owners to revitalize old, outdated commercial buildings and shopping centers. That was high on their list. These were items that were all rated either extremely important or important by the community. Moving on, coordinate more special community events. We'll talk about that in more detail. Attract higher-end retail restaurants. Deliver programs, projects to assist the homeless or unhoused. Improve the maintenance of dirt roads and provide more recreational facilities and opportunities. So those are the 10 top priorities from your community livability survey that came through. From that point, then, what we have for you to kind of walk you through is I've divided these into, these were in your agenda packet, and these are things that we have heard either at a staff level, either individually or collectively during a council meeting from council members, in some cases from the public that have submitted comments to us. And so we've kind of identified them by category. So the first one, for example, is community engagement, then we'll go to community livability, infrastructure, and facilities. So we'll start with community engagement. I've identified the 3 that stick out that I've heard, and I leave a couple here at the bottom that are blank if there's something that as we walk through these, if pops up into your mind that you would like to see on here, or if it fits on here, then we'll put them in there. Again, this is meant to be an open dialogue, no real structure to this other than we'll identify things that we've heard. And if you want to then begin to chime in and let us know if we're on the right path, if there's a variation of what you see there, or if there's something missing, then just let us know that. So under community engagement, I think what we've heard both from the council and the public in their community livability survey is the desire to see more town-sponsored community-wide events. These are outside of the traditional events that we provide typically through our recreation department, community services department, an expansion of that into things like the farmers market, theme nights, music nights, that are maybe outside of our traditional municipal setting. So that's one of the things that we've heard. Kind of taking that to a little bit different vein is the assisting in coordination and assistance of private engagement events when and where appropriate. And the idea there being that there may be either businesses or organizations in town that would like to do a special event. And is it appropriate, and at what point is it appropriate for the town to either assist or coordinate in the effort of that? Obviously, we probably don't want to deliver every single event in the community. That's probably not appropriate, nor efficient. And so when other people can step up and fill that, maybe there's a role for the town to do that. And then framework to support private event hosting capabilities to meet visitation demand. Your planning commission is currently working on a couple of different regulation updates that may address that, but those are, again, another opportunity for community engagement to meet needs that are out there. So with that, I'll stop talking and kind of turn it over to the council to talk about community engagement, if any of these ring a bell. If so, in your mind, what are you hoping to see that can come from this, this effort? You could pop on the light, and then when we go to the next slide, we'll turn it off again.
Go ahead.
I would like to understand a little bit more about some of these things that you have up on the screen. I would be very much in favor of trying to encourage the private event hostings and happenings, and maybe the town could coordinate with the Morongo Basin Transit Authority to provide bus transportation from some location where the guests could park their car and we could transport them, so it's not a whole bunch of cars going up and down the dirt roads or that kind of thing. Find out where it's happening and maybe provide some support that way. I could see where maybe the town has that mobile sound trailer. Maybe that could be utilized at some kind of a music festival or a gathering if it was appropriate, and have that available for rent or that sort of thing for an event like that. Is that the kind of things that we're supposed to be coming up with, or am I anywhere on target, or?
Yeah,
Is it
absolutely.
totally open?
It's totally open. I wouldn't worry too much about any specific elements of delivering an event.
Okay.
That's pretty easy to
Figure it out
at a
once we
staff
say,
level.
yes, we can, huh?
Yeah, so I think the ideas of, for example, for possibly the rental of a stage for private organizations, stuff like that's great. Events, great, yeah. You're on the right path.
I think it would be really great to see some of those things. We have such a beautiful night sky, maybe things like stargazing activities or something where it's either private or done by the town. I think those things could be very useful, and definitely favor of the farmers markets and the car shows. And I think once we have our swimming pool open, there'll be all sorts of opportunities for, old movies on a float tube and go to the pool and hang out. Cartoon night for the kids, all sorts of things that would make that possible. And the more engagement, the better, as far as I'm concerned. We have really great facilities in town. We've maintained them very thoroughly, and we need to use them. And maybe we can come up with even if it requires hiring a few more staff to make it more easy to run it or more predictable, where, every week on Wednesday you have this event, or twice a month you have this event. Something like that, where you have enough staff that can handle the planning and the carrying it out. I think we're pretty well staffed in some of the recreational things, but there might be other things that the council looks at tonight that might require other staff in order to make it come to fruition. So I would like to have a town where people feel comfortable being in partners with the town to do private events or special events. And I'm a creative thinker. I like to think I am, at least. And so there are all sorts of opportunities that may arise that we need to have an open mind and at least look through it. And I would be very much in favor of that kind of thing.
As far as number 3, I think that's kind of being worked on right now. Well, it is with the Planning Commission, so that's great. We're on track to solve that problem, or not problem, but decide how to handle that demand. Let's see here. The private engagement events, I think that's really important. If a business wants to put on some event, maybe the town can assist, or that's probably something that should go through the Planning Commission also. And sponsored community-wide events, number 1, farmers markets, street fairs. To me, that's the most important one. That's what people have been asking for, I think, the most in the last 5 years. And I think it's really important that we address that. So other than that, I can't think of anything else to add to the list. But I think number 1 is the most important at this time, that would really support the community a lot.
Councilmember School or anything?
Yeah, I think somehow that looks a little bit vague. I know the Planning Commission is working on a couple of the items up there, but I agree with Councilmember Droz that the farmers market and such things are almost universally appealing, and people, when that's brought up in a room, people seem to respond favorably to that. And so I think with the construction of our parking area, gathering place in Old Town, I think that will facilitate such a thing. But I think we should be proactive so that when we do construct that, we should be ready to roll with maybe a farmer's market, car shows, a schedule of maybe town-sponsored or town co-sponsored events that could get people used to that right off of the bat when we get that up and running. Events seems to be becoming a vague term because the small events and large events are so different that, you could consider an event a rodeo or a music festival or something like that, but also an event could be a yoga retreat, as we've had conversation like that, which is way different. So I think maybe defining events and maybe putting them into small, medium, and large categories or something so that we know what we're talking about when we have these conversations, I think that would be helpful. And I also think we should be defining, our purpose. Are we putting on events like, our concerts in the park seem to be for local consumption, even though they draw from out of the area a little bit. But are these events we're talking about just for local consumption or for engaging visitors when they come to town, or even causing visitors to come to town? And I think an event like, let's just say a car show in Old Town, you put food with it and music with it, and you have an event that people are going to come to. And I think, I don't know what category that would fall into in my small, medium, and large, but I think if we define, what we're trying to do with the events, is it just local consumption, or are we trying to encourage visitorship and also give the visitors that are already coming here something else to do that I don't know, gets them to engage in Yucca Valley a little bit more while they're here. So I'm all in favor of sponsoring and co-sponsoring events. The private events, I think we've heard from a few businesses at least, and a few sections of town that would like to put on something like a street fair, maybe not quite that, but something that looks like that. I think we should keep the door open to that. I think if we can facilitate it and it's safe and it's productive and gets the businesses involved in their community, I think that's a plus. So I'm in favor of them. I think all of the things that are up there are good. I don't know what I would add to 4 and 5 for community engagement, but I think that's a pretty good bite if we could make progress on those 3 items.
If I might be able to press the council just a little bit on item number 1. Actually, it may flow through to number 2 as well. Historically, to this point, we've not necessarily branched out into some of these other ones as a town-sponsored event. We were not opposed to having private providers of these events come to us, fill out an application to deliver an event, and if it worked, then it worked. If it didn't, then it went away. This concept is, the way that we've structured it is a little bit different, where this now is a town-sponsored activity, which means town resources, town staffing, town commitment to ensuring the delivery of some of these events, that it's done correctly, that it's meets the objectives of what we're laying out to do, as Councilmember Schooler said, whether it's for local or whether it's to draw in visitation. So just want to make sure that staff is clear on the council's general consensus that town sponsorship, town resources on these types of events is what is being communicated tonight.
Can I say something?
Yes,
I think partially, but some events might be put on by a business and might just need guidance and, a permit. So that's one thing. And when Councilmember Schooler was talking about, we're using the word events a lot. So something I noticed today when I was looking at this, I was thinking about Old Woman Springs Road and Aberdeen, what would be in the future someday an event center. I mean, who knows how far down the road. But I think we should look at, at least surveying the property and seeing what is possible there, and seeing if there's water and electric available, and just getting a feel for the property to know what's possible in the future, whether it be 10 years from now or 20 years from now. at least we know there's water there and there's electric, or we might put water and electric in for the future. So if that's going to be an event center someday, we have to start doing the prep for that. So that's all I have to say on that.
So I'll go ahead and make a couple comments, but I actually highlighted number 2. And number 2 looked like what was most important, I think, on the other 2. The upper would be an event that's town-sponsored. We put the framework together, as it's mentioned in the bottom, but we run under the same kind of framework. You know, we have a plan for events. So the top part is more town-sponsored, as you said, it could be. It could engage some of our resources to help that happen. And the lower one is more of private events, but the biggest thing that we want is we want to make sure that if we do go down that, and we know there's a demand for it, there are private events that happen in the area, and they're not actually, no one's notified of it. We don't really are aware of it. We're not aware of it until it actually occurs. So I think in the middle, the coordination and/or assistance of any event, whether it's one that's town-sponsored is demonstrated in number 1, or whether it's a private event in number 3, that coordination is for everybody. So I think we need to look at it, that we set an example, as we do with our events, for the town-sponsored community-wide events. So those are kind of an example of how we would like to see an event run. We're taking care of all the things that would be a concern to the community. Any of the disruption, any of the public safety issues, any of the trash, the traffic, the noise, hours of operation, and cleanup, and all those things, so we leave no trace. So I think those are important, that others, the bigger the events get, if they are private, some of those things that we look at to control these events, to make them palatable for the community and the visitors that are there, they may be applied to larger private events. When that's just something we have to figure out, you know, with staff to build that framework. But I think 2 is really important, and certainly framework would apply to all of those. So I do like that. I do like the private opportunities. I think it's important, it's happening, and I'd like to be a partner in that and make sure that they're run right in our community. I know ours are. We do a swell job, so thank you. I don't have anything else to add to that part.
I agree that, you know, we don't have the bandwidth to do a whole lot of town-sponsored events with staffing, but there's different levels of sponsorship. And again, having events and looking at an event calendar and looking at trying to bring in events throughout the year that perhaps is an area where we're missing, or we don't have a whole lot of people utilizing the hotels or local Airbnbs, but the weather's nice. Looking at a master calendar so events don't compete against other events and take away. So again, yeah, we can't have full staff out there doing a farmer's market, but we could have it perhaps partially sponsored, or a seal of approval that it's a town recognized event, and then we have our fingers on exactly what are our requirements to have that event, and then those private people that come in realize, you know, they're going to have to pay for security, or they're going to have to pay for cleanup, or the use of a facility, or things like that. So the different levels of sponsorship could be depending upon the actual event. Again, we have very limited staff, so we don't want to overburden our staff, but having a place for people together, or to have events that benefit the community, and we know that quality of life is important. We want people to have pride in their town, and bring recognition and things for people to do, and invite relatives and friends to come and partake is important. So yeah, I think it surveyed well with the community, and having events is going to be a good thing, and having a place to hold them would also be advantageous to the local businesses close by.
Yes, Pro Tem.
Would this be an opportunity, or could this be an opportunity for more engagement with groups like the Youth Planning Commission and that sort of thing, where they could be involved in actually providing some services at the event, like they do for some of the things where Miss Yucca Valley Court, those kind of things? Could we get them more involved in than just one event, or coming and saying hello, you know, and actually have them do some of the footwork or the
heavier lifting of the events?
So I think what you end up dealing with is, it would likely start with how are you going to define the event and what's your target with that event? So typically, for example, on our current town recreation events that we provide, summer concerts, some of our holiday events that are upcoming, we do engage those volunteer groups. But at the end of the day, they're volunteer groups, and you're only going to get them for a certain amount of time. Much different than if your event is structured to either engage your community at large or bring in visitation. I think the quality of the event is going to be something that you want to be much more visible, and it's going to require resources, whether it's the town issuing a call for a proposal for an event, for example, for a farmer's market, and the town identifies what are your objectives in that market or that event, and then providing the resources necessary to deliver a quality event. The last thing that we want to ever do at a staff level is do something that is going to be substandard and not have a quality outcome, right? So, of course, we want to use volunteers when possible. Sometimes it's easy to plug them in, other times it's not.
Okay. Do we currently have a coordinator for the youth-type activities that interacts or interfaces with the planning commission, the
Our community service
planning
events, of course.
commission, and we do have a service coordinator, okay.
Real quick, I think the more that it runs itself, the better. For community events, just permission and making sure they follow the guidelines and they put on the event themselves, like a car show or farmer's market.
So community engagement looks good. Is there any other questions from staff of us?
No, I think we're clear on that. We can move on. if you're
Real
ready.
quick, I don't think we asked for public input at the beginning. Are we supposed to or not?
Mayor, it's your decision on how you want to take public input, whether you want to do it incrementally or just wait till the end. It's up to you.
I think if we can move through it, we may answer some of their questions, and we'll pull up that at the end.
Okay, moving on to community livability. There's a couple of things that we've heard from both the community livability survey as well as from the council at different times. Development of a coordinated approach in addressing the unhoused. That number one, and number two, we do have representation on the East Valley Regional Steering Committee that is a subset of county operations related to homelessness. Town staff has made a concerted effort to get involved in that at a little bit higher level, understand it. We feel that probably the most efficient way to deliver those services is through coordination with our county and our nonprofit providers. The town can't do that individually, nor do we have the resources to do that, but that is our goal, is to be able to wrap in some of those overarching organizations to assist us with that. Then the other one that you saw on the community livability survey was number 3 there, and taking additional steps to ensure that particularly our commercial quarter and our vacant or abandoned properties are addressed in a timely fashion. Other items that the council has, we'd be interested in hearing from you on what you might consider as other community livability initiatives that you'd like us to explore.
Okay, we'll bring it back. Yes, Councilmember Droz.
The only one I have really, maybe to add to that, is dirt road maintenance.
That will be on another upcoming
That's
slide,
on
so
another
you got
one?
that one
Okay,
covered.
I wasn't sure if that was under livability. Okay, thanks.
After the presentation by Unity Home, maybe more transitional housing should be looked into and see if there's opportunity for that to get partnered with either the county or state and do something more that we know it's been working, functioning well for 30 years, and look into more of those kind of opportunities where we have and can find partners to operate some more transitional housing, maybe even a situation where it could house the homeless for a short period of time while they get back on their feet
if it's that kind of a situation, you know, no drug use and that kind of thing, maybe they lost their job and couldn't pay the rent for a period of time, that sort of thing. I don't know how appropriate that is or how often that's needed, but something where you could transition people that are, you know, who knows, coming out of prison, needing time to look for a job or something. Transitional housing could be a useful tool. And obviously there's plenty of need for it in the unity home type of thing.
Would affordable housing fit into this slide or another one? Okay, I think it seems like it takes a long time from the get-go to the completion of an affordable housing project or any other project, but I think we need to get the ball rolling on that. That just seems to be a recurring need in this town. I totally agree that the addressing the homeless assistance is best done through the regional partnerships and the county. You look around at how various cities and counties have tried to address homelessness and spend a lot of money and just wind up treading water. So I think the county partnership and the agencies in the basin, I think, are the best partnerships. I think if we're going to make progress, it's through that avenue. Not real sure where we go with affordable housing, how we get that started, but I think I hear about that a lot, that's something that we need to.
No housing is affordable.
Well, yeah, more affordable than most housing.
Along those lines, there's probably a number of different paths that you can take, whether it's private property that's currently owned by other owners. Typical way is often either town-acquired or town-owned property. Is that something that the council would be interested in continuing to explore all options?
I do like the item number 3 also. We do a lot of talk, internally and also at the county, state, federal level about homelessness and how we can get assistance there. And we do have quite a few successful programs. We were just talking about it today, coffee with the mayor, some of the things that our sheriffs are doing, our EMS services, fire services, how they try and get these people. We talk about transitional. One thing I was thinking about on number 3 when I saw that is that taking better care of commercial properties and also residential properties that are not, that are vacant. It takes away the opportunity for those people to not become engaged in the services that we have now, that we're trying to get them into some type of housing and transitional opportunities. So I just think taking better care of that property and then also looking at properties like that, as you had just mentioned, for maybe opportunities to turn them into something that is a healthy, safe environment for those that need that transition, that opportunity to have shelter for a while. But we do know there's a lot of homes that have been broken into and buildings that are all in the same way, and those become the homes. And unfortunately, they're not generally a healthy environment for those that are in need of a little bit more. So, but the first 2, definitely, I know that there's a lot of work to still do.
Curtis, does the dressing up the commercial corridor, the improvements there, does that fit on this slide or another slide? The improvements, the welcome signs,
We can address them here. I can't remember if I have them on another one. I think I do, but let's just tackle that now so we don't miss it.
Yeah, we've had that conversation, and I think
Beautification would be the closest. Corridor beautification might address that a little bit too.
right, I guess that's what
I
I
may
mean.
have left it off because that's currently underway, but I think highlighting it and reiterating it for both staff as well as the public is important.
Well, the renderings I've seen, I'm totally excited about. I think that would be a big plus in the community in terms of livability and in terms of community morale. So I'd just cast my vote for that.
What types of things can we do to encourage business owners to take better care or put a new coat of paint or, put a different facade on that dresses it up a little bit? What kinds of things can the town do to incentivize that? I think it would be great. There's several places in town I can think of that could use a redressing and just sometimes a coat of paint in some different colors and a different facade instead of just a box, might be enough to dress it up and make it look a little more beautiful. Other places, simple landscaping might do something if we could. I just don't know how far you want to push business people without some incentive. If you have an incentive that helps, I think it's great, but what kinds of things do we incentivize them with? So.
Great input, and we just put that as an incentive program. We can take a look at exploring some of those within the regulations that town public entities have to deal with, but certainly I think there are programs out there that have been successful, some less successful, but we can add that to the list, you bet. I guess I would ask the council here, you'll probably see or hear a common question at the end of each group here. So as we continue to move forward with these, some of these may be being done at a certain level right now that's being provided to the community. Enhanced levels typically will require enhanced resources, whether that's staffing, contract service, or additional program management. So I just want to ensure that the council is aware of that, and that may come back as we do prioritization then of which ones are we going to put those resources at. Mayor, if you're comfortable, we can move on to the next one.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Infrastructure and facilities. I know Councilmember Droz talked about our property up on Aberdeen, and we've kind of identified that as number 4, but not in that particular space. This is really more broad than that. These are some of the infrastructure and or facility comments that we've heard. I guess I would want to highlight first in terms of facilities and projects that we have moving forward. Just to remind the council and the public, we have 4 significant projects that are going to be breaking ground next year. We have our flagship project, the Yucca Valley Aquatics and Rec Center. We will be underway with the town services and public space consolidation here next door, bringing everybody under one roof. We have the Senior Center Modernization Project that will be underway probably summer sometime, late summer, maybe fall. And then we have our parking area expansion of Elk Trail. And so all of those will be underway next year. These are other items that we've heard or other concepts that we've heard. So enhance town's existing open space areas such as North Park, South Park, maybe adding some amenities at North Park, seating areas, other types of overlooks that would add to that experience. Number 2, Councilmember Droz, there is your develop alternatives for community consideration regarding non-maintained dirt road management. That's about as vague as I wanted to put that there, but it's an ongoing conversation that we've had for many years. So I know that the council's still interested in, and quite frankly, the community is going to need to identify what solution they might want to have, as there will be dirt roads in this community for many, many years. An offset of that is number 3, reviewing options for the expansion of the town's maintained road system. In other words, bringing in small portions of improved roadway in strategic locations that make sense. And then future town event center planning, whether that's at our property at Essig Park or at the Aberdeen 247 property or other place. So those are some of the ones that we've heard, and open again to the council's additional comments on these and or others that might not be up there.
All right, thank you. We'll bring it back to the council. Any comments? You want us to continue your discussion on open space or event planning?
I just want to mention the dirt roads. I know all the dirt roads can't be maintained, but maybe some arterials, certain ones that are really important could be maintained. Some of them are really bad, like I'm sure Chipmunk Trail. Most of that, if I mean, I remember, I guess it was like 8 years ago, a police car was going down Roberts Road and ran into that and crashed. And it's like 2.5 feet deep. You know, you just run into a ravine and go down. So sometimes that has been used in the past when there's an accident at Buena Vista. They go down Hillcrest and go down Roberts. But there are other roads like Sierra Vista. It's super sandy. A lot of cars get stuck there. It's just also for, for emergency vehicles. So arterial dirt roads, there should be some, not every dirt road, but the really important ones around town, not just in my district, but in, over by Merle's district, over by Kickapoo Trail. There are a lot of dirt roads, and I'm sure some of those are in really bad condition. So we just need to look at the dirt roads. And infrastructure. The other thing I want to mention that's not on the list, I think the town needs to get a better dialogue. I know it's been mentioned in the past with Caltrans about Old Woman Springs Road going through Western Hills Estates. I know that's a big deal because there's, a lot of rock there that would be really expensive, and Caltrans probably doesn't want to do it. But there's that private rail going in from Rancho Cucamonga to Las Vegas, and they're going to have a stop at Interstate 15 and Dale Evans Parkway. So the way to get there from the Coachella Valley is 247. I mean, this is just going to get 247 is going to get more and more traffic. And this is a private development, the speed rail. It's going from Cucamonga to Las Vegas in 2.5 hours, I believe. And there's a stop, like I said, in Apple Valley. So if people are going to be using that road more, I mean, 5 years from now, it's going to be open, or it's supposed to be. It's private development, it's not state, so I'm assuming it will go through on time. We'll see. But I just think that's something to look at for Caltrans. If we can get a dialogue with Caltrans, like, what are you going to do with Old Woman Springs Road? I mean, outside of town also, but really, Western Hills Estates, it's single lane, and that's going to get really dangerous. So I just think we should try and start a dialogue with Caltrans about that. And that's it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with Councilmember Rhodes. Of course, those are in numbered order, and I'm sure that's not stating which one's more priority over another, so I won't have any heartache over that. But I do think we need to review the options of expanding the town's maintained road system. It'd be interesting to get a study to see exactly over time, when we're talking about maintaining some dirt roads and so forth, the cost involved in that, and getting legal access to the dirt roads, as well as some of these roads that we have right here in our town. I still think it's quite embarrassing to have a city that's been around for 30 years and we still have dirt roads within a quarter of a mile, half mile, 1 mile from our town hall, and we still have dirt roads. And these people have been paying taxes for 30 years here locally. They pay the same amount of property tax as some others. And yet they're still waiting for their dirt road to be paved. And now that the sewers come in, or the wastewater treatment systems come in, those roads are ready for some type of paving. It talks about a strategic locations. I think we do need to have some type of long-term planning to slowly spider web out and start filling in some of these places that, or these roads that are maybe even 3/4 of the way developed. They have enough houses already established on the road that there's plenty of traffic. I work on the Air Quality Management Board, and they talk about particulates, and dirt roads have all kinds of bad health issues for people. And I feel bad for this small community to still be dealing with dirt roads within 1 mile, 2 miles of town hall. There are 30 people on a street, and there's people driving up and down that road every day, and the winds blow, and they're blowing right into people's homes. And in my district, and in some of the districts that Councilmember Rhodes talks about, we don't have the most affluent of people. and they're the ones suffering from poor air quality. And so I think we need to do some type of planning sooner than later, and again, some kind of a cost analysis, because I know paving a road is very expensive. Maybe we can have an incentive that one person's street where they all give consent to give right-of-way to the town has priority. So people pressure their neighbors to give up right-of-way to pave their particular small street. And once they have everybody on board, we're not having to pay outlandish costs to get the easements and settle some type of financial burden to be able to widen the road and to pave it. So I would like to see some type of a plan. And then also, going back to Councilmember Drodes, there are some main arterials that are dirt roads that feed into a whole lot of other particular side streets. And if we can at least maintain a few of those key arterials before we can get to a point of paving them, I would be open to seeing that. Of course, we have to have things that are sustainable, because the economy changes, and the first things we have to do are cut some of the things and some of the benefits people get used to, and then there's a big outcry of they used to maintain my road, now they don't, or whatever. But I would definitely like to see some type of a plan to slowly start getting these roads within town limits, close to town, and some of the most, I guess, economically needy areas taken care of, because they've been suffering long enough.
Thank you for those comments. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
On the issue of the roads and maintaining roads that are currently dirt, it would be helpful to understand what other alternatives other than paving exist. I've seen circumstances where gravel has been laid down. Would that work in our area? I don't know, but it would be interesting to look at. It would be a much cheaper alternative than paving. It may make the road more or less maintainable, I don't know, but it could be a step. There's another thing that I saw used in another area where I think they got it from a contractor that was tearing up roadway, and they crumble the existing asphalt into very small little pieces, and then it's thrown down like gravel. And over time, being traveled on, it flattens out to some extent, and it seemed to make a pretty usable road in the situation where I saw it. I don't know if that's practical on a sandy substructure, but if we knew more about what other things could be done, I think we should look into it, and we should have a long-term view of things where maybe we can't do it all right in the next 5 years, but if we do a little bit every year, we'll have something achieved in 5 years and something even better in 25. And the way that things have happened in Yucca Valley, we're building a lot of momentum. We've got a lot of things happening this year. There's going to be 4 major projects like our town manager just spoke about, and that momentum has really moved forward from the times when I remember moving here in the beginning. In the 80s, there was very little happening out here. For very long periods of time, people talked about things and nothing got done. So I'm very happy with what our staff has done, and the fact that we incorporated allowed us to move more forward in those kind of things where we controlled the planning and the moving forward of projects. But I think we need to look long-term. So I'd be in favor of, developing alternatives for community consideration regarding non-maintained dirt roads, and look into that.
Councilmember Schooler?
Yeah, I agree with all of the comments on dirt roads, where I think the writing's on the wall that we eventually are going to have to address dirt roads and pave some of the dirt roads, but a coordinated plan, develop alternatives for community consideration. I assume that means assessment districts and so forth to fund it. But I think we should do that. I like the master planning approach that Councilmember Lombardo and Abel were talking about. So I think putting that in place and maybe making some systematic progress on that would be would be good, and also with the event center planning, that's something, if we're ever going to have an event center, maybe some periodic discussion about event centers and what that could look like and where that could be in town. I think we've got some property where that could take place, but what is it going to be? I don't think we even know that, but maybe we can make some progress, not giant steps at this point, but if we had some periodic discussion of that to kind of keep it on the radar so that we can work toward that and maybe get a break somewhere, but be a little bit ready for it if we ever get a break. Now, as long as we're talking about infrastructure and facilities, I think we've done a great job on recreation facilities little by little, but can we talk about pickleball and tennis now? Is this slide? Okay. Our commitment last year to convert one of the tennis courts into 4 pickleball courts, I think was wise. It was timely. We were resurfacing, and that was an ideal time to at least conduct that experiment, maybe you would call it. But I think right away that proved to be a situation where tennis is growing and pickleball is growing. Both groups seem to be thriving right now. And so we sort of looked at that like a 2-year trial period with that conversion of one court into pickleball courts, and we're at the 1-year mark now. So I think I would totally advocate for expediting a solution, whether it be more tennis courts, more pickleball courts. I don't think, even though there will be some accommodation for pickleball in the gymnasium, there'll also be competition from basketball and volleyball and any number of other activities for indoor space. So I don't really think that would be sufficient to satisfy the need and the demand. So I think that's something that we should keep high on our radar, and especially because we're 1 year into this experiment, and I think the public's going to be asking us what we're doing about it, and I'd like to have an answer for that.
Well, thank you. So I'll start off with one that I've always thought was very important, is our North Park and South Park facilities. They are probably the closest to nature for people that want to get out, use the trailheads, have a nice place to park, restrooms, and the whole thing. And we've been able to get to that point at North Park and South Park. It's nice that it's also talking about amenities. I think as we move forward, though, I'd also like to be inclusive. I know that we have, we're just talking about pickleballs turning into like clubs. We've got a kite club. We've got a frisbee golf club. We've got cycling clubs up here. I'm assuming that we probably have a hiking club too. So those kinds of people to help us to talk about the things that they want for amenities, and we start to look at trail enhancement and improvements, rest areas along the paths, maybe some signage with to make it a better immersive experience for people that want to use them. I think they're nice. So the trail amenities, that's kind of where I would look at, is make sure that we specifically cherry pick some of those people that really live that wholeheartedly as far as trail hiking, maybe even running. There's a lot of trail running clubs too. And now to the tough subject and the expensive one, are roads. I want to say one thing. I know that over the past few years, since the town was incorporated, there's been a lot of improvements. When you look at like Hillcrest and you look at Sunny Slope and you look at the expansion of many of our roads to help improve traffic on the highway, there's been a lot of road work going on, and I know when I look at the bottom line, it's not free. It's very expensive, and you figure that consumes a lot of these smaller pet projects that I think probably bring more joy to people in their daily activities, whatever that might be, for recreation, than the roads. But the roads, to me, are one of the highest priorities we have. As far as public safety goes, it's how our resources get to those locations, and it's how our residents get to and from their home or their work, the schools, and all that stuff too. But I think it is time, the rest of the council kind of said it, to start looking at opportunities to continue some of those improvements so we can have at least one good improved road of some type, could be dirt, could be completely engineered, but to get into some of these more remote areas. We have some, as I guess the short-term vacation rental and just the popularity of Yucca Valley has expanded, so has the desire to stay in some of the most remote areas in our community, and they're not easy to get to. Some of them, I'm surprised that people actually drive cars back there. They should have a truck or a SUV of some kind. So those are the things I'd look at, make sure at least there's one road that can get in there that's generally somewhat stabilized. When we have even, we know that we've had some roads right here in town, you know, our road department does a fantastic job getting out there and cleaning those things up quickly, but all that dirt goes somewhere, and then they got to move it back up to the top and let it have another free ride during the next storm. So that would just be my thought on that. It's whether it's road maintenance on dirt or asphalt, I think we got to finish primarily those public safety thoughts on the main pieces to get to those remote locations if we can.
Mayor, just if you're done with your thought, I had one other.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the only pushback I would have a little bit is on number one with enhancing open spaces and so forth, North Park and South Park. The reason I'd push back on that is, and again, we don't have those in priority order, is I would have to see that there's enough demand or use for the amount of money being spent for benches or shade shelters or whatever it might be, when something like the downtown parking lot area will probably be used much, much more and a much higher priority. So it's nice to have North Park and established and so forth. I just don't know how much usage is actually going on there, because that was quite a bit of an investment. It did open up some access to public lands, which I'm all excited about and so forth, but that's one thing I'd be a little hesitant on is, you know, prioritizing, like you said, which ones are important, which ones we get our most bang for our buck, and so forth. So I just wanted to include that. The other thing, when you talked about highway heading out towards the Lucerne area and so forth, you know, I still think that we should try to encourage, or whoever the powers to be, whether it's the state or the county, that there still needs to be, they've done some great improvements out there by widening the shoulder, and single car rollovers, I'm sure, have been reduced because of the shoulder work they've done and the asphalt. It's just too bad that during their planning and during that development that they just didn't create 2 or 3 passing lanes to where people would be a little bit more hesitant in trying to pass over a double yellow, or over a yellow, to pass a slow-moving caravan or motorhomes or whatever, when they see in 3 miles there's going to be a double lane, and then they could safely pass at that time. So it would be really great if we continued to try to do some outreach for next phase of making that a little safer highway, because I know some of our residents use that to get to the Apple Valley, Victorville area, and as well as heading north. So that was my only other comment about the highway improvement.
Oh, thank you. I just want to add on top of that, these discussions have been going on for quite a few years now at SBCTA. They understand that's our transportation authority here for the county, and Caltrans is well aware of the desire to have a safer route for our residents and for everybody that uses that road. It's true that Highway 247, this is the 0 mark. This is where it starts in Yucca Valley, and it goes all the way to Barstow. And so from here, we go to the 44-mile mark, and there is no safe passing opportunity for 44 miles on a 2-lane road that is heavily consumed by logistics. So trucks that move produce, that move powder from the mines, very heavy trucks. They're hauling a lot of stuff back and forth to help the low desert, to help us, and to help other areas to the north when it's coming from the low desert. So they're well aware of it, and you're absolutely right, Councilmember Abel, that just seeing that sign makes it to where someone goes, okay, I'm going to cool my burners for a couple of miles, I'll wait for the passing opportunity, and then go. But otherwise, we're really having stack-ups on that road, and unfortunately, we all know, we've lived here quite a while, you've heard the news of people take chances sometimes to pass, or there's someone that is not aware of the passing that's going on, and there's accidents. So it is a constant discussion, and it's nice that you brought it up. and it needs to be continued to be pushed all the way up to Caltrans, that we want to see some improvements on that road and make sure it's safe for all of our residents and our visitors.
Mayor, as we get ready to move on to the next slide, just a couple of final thoughts. Appreciate the comments on prioritizing funding. There may be opportunities, for example, on park funding or amenity funding, that those resources come in a restricted bucket through an outdoor grant or something like that, so it doesn't necessarily require town funds to do those. But I think you all hit the key point on 2 and 3, which is developing alternatives for community consideration. So when we talk about dirt roads, when we talk about expanding our maintained road system, very, very expensive. The community has willingly adopted Measure Y. Those funds are really for maintenance of existing roadways and do not provide enough capacity to expand. And so there are going to be alternatives that we have to explore, whether it's assessment districts, whether it's an additional revenue measure of some sort that can be dedicated toward that task. We don't know exactly what that looks like. And quite frankly, in communities like ours and many others, it's an iterative process, so that you may go out to your community and ask them what they're looking for and what they're willing to support. They may not do it the first time or the second time, but maybe the third or fourth time it gets done. And so for them to understand what those options are, what those alternatives are, and for the staff to be creative in identifying how do we prioritize, how do we identify strategic areas that this makes sense in, and then provide that information in a comprehensive way to the community would be the task. With that, I think we can move on to the next one, if that's okay, Mayor?
Can I say one more thing, just about dirt roads? I think a lot of people that live on dirt roads are happy with them, and they're fine, but it's just some of the crossings, where you have the deep ruts. So I just want to point that out. Maybe it's not maintaining a whole road, but after a storm, making it accessible to emergency vehicles, something like that. So that's all I want to say.
Okay, next is economic support and development. I think you'll be glad to know, I think this is the second to last one. So these are things that we've heard in your community livability survey. The community asked the town to go out and seek additional retailers or restaurants. Obviously, we can't compel private business to come in and do business in town. That has to be a business decision for those companies and those operations. But there is potentially a role to actively engage with them. And probably not something that we've been very active in over the years. At different times we have, but not necessarily all of the time. So a couple here: active business industry solicitation, whether that's retail business, whether that's employment opportunity, businesses that might want to expand here. There may be an opportunity for business assistance. Typically, again, or historically, the council's not been active in that space, but this may be an opportunity for the council to give that direction. Partnership with the tourism industry to further Yucca Valley as a destination community. Again, something that we have been blessed with over the pandemic, that Yucca Valley did become a destination, not necessarily through an active campaign by the town. And one can think what positive benefits might come if we actually took that active role. So those are some of the ideas for economic support and development. And again, turn it to the council for additional thoughts or insight.
All right, thank you, staff. We'd like to start off on the council, these items.
Oh, I'll go. Everybody's
Okay.
looking
We'll go
here,
with-
sure.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Councilmember School.
I don't know about active business industry solicitation. I think what we've seen in the community survey was that the public is looking for more restaurants more than anything else. And I think maybe that's a niche. I mean, maybe that's something that we could encourage. I know if we can target a business or a business category, then maybe that. I think over the years we've been spinning our wheels a little bit with some of the other things that we've tried to attract. that just aren't a real good fit because we don't have rail, we don't have freeway, we don't have airport to be transporting goods, so, and not necessarily just restaurants, but I kind of think that takes advantage of the wave that maybe we're feeling since the pandemic, and going right down to number 5 there, it kind of ties in my mind, to attract those businesses that would help us bring more tourism into the town. It's seems to me that the industry, the economic driver that we have been blessed with in recent years for tourism, or is tourism, and more than anything else, that's what's bringing people and dollars into this community. So I think kind of a combination of what businesses we're soliciting to promote that and to facilitate that, as well as the highway beautification and those other initiatives that we're talking about, kind of tie all that in together as part of our partnership with the tourism industry, so that we could make sure that the momentum that we've felt here doesn't just die out and go away, because I'm not sure what we would have for a driver if that happened. I'm not sure I've heard a lot about expanded business assistance. I haven't been hearing that people are asking us for that. Even the retail operations, I'm not sure that's big. I think that's maybe going to happen once we get other things happening in town. I think those will happen on their own. So, yeah, I guess that's it. I think we should partner with tourism industry, but with those things in mind, that, you know, what are people asking for, and what are people looking for when they get here, and then making sure we're attractive when people get here. So that's all I got.
Councilmember Abel?
Yeah, one of the things that we could look into is things that aren't too costly as far as that, and solicitation and all those things. I think one thing we want to maybe look into, and we've already sort of done that with the council, we changed some policy and so forth so that the older buildings could be refurbished and used. That saves the desert being destroyed, and helps beautify some of the buildings that we already have that need to be either rebuilt or brought up to today's standards. So anything that we can do to help streamline the process, to help in that category, would be great. Also, I think we should look into things like possible zoning and rezoning things. Zoning can be really good to keep the harmony of the community and different areas to where you move into their area, you sort of know what's going to be going on. But then there's also some maybe opportunities to change some zoning so that a developer would find some property a little bit more desirable. So the thing I think of is where you look at the old High Desert Publishing Company, and then that strip area, and then that empty movie theater is just an eyesore, and it's not just been an eyesore for a few years, it's been for decades. And perhaps look into possible rezoning that area to where it could be mixed use, where it could be apartments on top and retail underneath, you know, to where a developer can say, hey, I can get my return on investment by revamping that property or tearing it down and rebuilding something. Again, you know, things like that, allowing more boutique hotels that have small impacts. Maybe that would reduce the amount of Airbnb usage and increase more people being in a hotel area versus residential. So maybe look at zoning opportunities around the airport. Do we change some of the zoning there so that we could get some type of a development there? To where people could utilize some of that space, so as people fly in, they have an ability to stay at a hotel there or stay at a business. Having breweries down there by the airport, you know, would, you know, or more flyers, you know, restaurants and things like that. So those don't cost us a lot of money, but it might give opportunities for some type of development. I'm thinking about around the golf course. There's so much land there that could be utilized by a hotel or by a trailer, travel trailer park or something like that. Just thinking about how's our zoning going? Do we really have that much, commercial or industry that's going to be moving in, or is industry really not what we're going to have? We're going to have more opportunities for recreation and for tourism, and we change our zoning to reflect more of that. So anyway, just maybe some creative ideas and looking at ways we can change zoning to help investors be able to utilize property to the best and highest use.
The only thing maybe I could add to that would be, we had the ribbon cutting at the airport last weekend, and that was really great. They redid the runway. They have a nice runway now. And I think adding, if we could partner with the airport, or I've heard different stories on this, whether it's possible or not, but if they could have fuel there, because everybody that flies in there has to have enough fuel to fly out and go somewhere else and get fuel. So that would be one thing that would probably, that would be a little bit of economic support. And my other suggestion, which probably wouldn't add a lot of economic support, but maybe a little bit, is the road going to Pioneer Town. What do people do? They turn at Pioneer Town. What do? They turn at Old Woman Springs Road when they're going north. If we had signage on the road that said, businesses ahead, because they have no idea that Walmart's down there, McDonald's is down there. So they just turn left and go up, and then they leave Yucca Valley. So I think signage would be important. And maybe a sign, we talk about our entry signs coming into Yucca Valley, the 3 directions. Maybe have not a monument sign, but some kind of sign that says, you're leaving Yucca Valley, come back, or something like that. And when they're coming into town, welcome to Yucca Valley, say something about shopping, coming from Pioneer Town, because that's a major arterial road that goes up, a lot of people travel that. So my suggestion is more signage saying there's another part of town you haven't seen. You're turning left, and go straight. And that's it.
Okay. I'm a proponent for the active business and industry solicitation. I think that we could, if we don't currently have somebody that feels that they can make this their priority, maybe we can find someone that can, and attract or present the value of Yucca Valley to people that could use a community like this in their business. Some of them could even be home-style businesses. I have a friend that makes medical devices out of his garage kind of thing, and another friend that made the reeds for flutes and oboes and, real niche little things, but they can live anywhere they want, and they chose the place that they're living for whatever reason it was. Maybe we can find those kinds of things that can be attracted to Yucca Valley that might even provide some employment for a couple of employees, and attract some unusual things. I'm thinking that if we had somebody that was dedicated to that kind of thing, maybe they could go and sit in front of the people at either like In-N-Out Burger, Hobby Lobby, or Trader Joe's, all things that the community has wanted at one time or another. We got very close to getting an In-N-Out Burger at one time. And present the case, because I think it's changed a lot in the last few years, and maybe we would be closer to their requirements. For, a lot of them have kind of metrics that make it feasible or economic to build in a certain location they want certain income levels and certain population numbers. But we're in kind of a really unique place because of 4 million or 3.5 million visitors that go to the national park every year. Some of these things could feed off of that. They're not permanent residents here, but they're people that meet their metrics as far as income and spendable money, and they're traveling through the area. A high percentage, a lot of people. And I think that maybe some of these, and we're so far away from all these types of things. I can't tell you the number of guests we have come to our home and stay with us, and the first thing that they want to do when we pick them up at the airport is, oh, we got to stop at In-N-Out Burger. Holy, not my favorite thing, and I'd rather have better restaurants, but hey, it's attractive to a lot of people, and I think it could be capitalized on. If we had one in town, I think it would do very, very well. I haven't seen one that does poorly, but maybe that's because they pick their spots so carefully, or they're just very popular. And Trader Joe's is another one. We've talked to them several times in the past that I can remember, and I think we came up with, they're looking for certain metrics. I think it was something like a population of 50,000 and 50,000 in household income. And we don't meet those metrics, but like I say, we have 3.5 million people that travel to the park. Trader Joe's seems to be a popular place for them to buy groceries and food things in their normal environment. And those are great. It's a great store to go and get things that you're going to take maybe on a picnic when you go out hiking or in the desert. And I think it could work really well here. I'd also like to see some time spent on what we can attract to rebuild that area near the theater. And I'm not sure what the responsibility of the town should be for actually tearing down or building up something there, but maybe with the right partners, we could turn it into something much more usable than it is and make that, instead of a blighted spot, a more of an attractive spot. Thinking long-term, I would like to look into opportunities for something like a business incubator where we have a space that's either sponsored by the town or supported by the town in some way that encourages our high schoolers or our community college graduates to become more entrepreneurial and have a place where they can try out their idea for a certain amount of time, kind of in an environment where they don't have to sign long-term leases and sign their life away for utilities and all that sort of stuff, but give them a spot where they can try their idea, a place that attracts people to come and look at the ideas. It would be much better than the homeless camp that it is now. What other things? I think there's a lot of creative thinkers out there and a lot of people with much more business experience on how to make something profitable. That if we said, this is what we have, let's brainstorm some ideas over how to turn this into something usable for the community that would benefit everybody, I think we'd come up with some interesting ideas. Even if it was turned into a permanent location for farmers market, and you could have the farmers market indoors, that would be better than what it is now. Okay, so that's that. And I guess that kind of takes care of 1 and 2. I don't know where we can really do expanded business assistance. I think I'm very proud of the way that the town handled the COVID episode and was preemptive in helping businesses stay open and provided some funds for those that were suffering in the early phases when it was the most difficult. I think we did a good job of forward thinking on that. The staff was outstandingly good, and I know it helped a lot of people that were having trouble. We've always had a pretty good partnership with the tourism industry through the chamber and the visitor center. I'm open to those ideas if there's further things that we can do. It was a long process, and I think we've really seen the fruition of that long process in that the funds that we have available now are largely due to tourist trade and the Airbnb, and all of that was supported and encouraged many, many years ago through advertising of, come to the high desert, Yucca Valley, the gateway to the Joshua Tree National Park. And it's amazing how attractive Joshua Tree Park became. I remember it as the monument. And I think we've because we were thinking forward, we were able to capitalize on that when COVID hit and Airbnbs became extremely popular. People wanted to come out here. And so I think that the tourist industry is a good thing for the town, and I'm all in favor of looking at any ways that we can increase that partnership.
One thing on it I just want to bring up. I think, can you roll back one? I look at that a little bit differently. I think all of those things about solicitation are normal, and businesses will find us when the metrics are right, and you're absolutely right there. I think for us to help those smaller businesses, and we can do a lot of things locally. The one thing that I really like is downtown, we're trying to improve the parking situation there. Back in the day, the highway was the parking lot. Cars used to just pull straight in. They weren't in the street. So now they're shifting off-site. They're shifting parking in smaller dirt lots and things like that to meet that capacity that's no longer available on the highway when you parallel park. So I think stuff like that, when we look at how we can make access to the businesses better that are there today, we can make sure that there's plenty of parking to meet the needs. If I pull into a business and the place is just, there's people standing outside, there's no place to park, it's time to move on and go somewhere else. So those kinds of businesses, and it may not be that business that's being affected, it's the one next door that needs all those customers and they can't get them because there's no place to park. Happens a lot of places. So I want to keep that on the radar, that we make sure that we're doing the economic support by making sure that businesses can be successful in whatever it is that they're doing. As long as they're a good business, they're sustainable, we want to make sure that we're not kind of blocking that by not making sure that there's parking, there's access, there's roads. And the one thing that was on here, which has been a big part of mine for a long time, and we're starting to address it right now with the new sign program that's being implemented around, is getting a stylized sign. So when you see that sign means something, and it means information about something important. So like a parking area, EV charging systems, it's a street coming up that's important to access something that you might not know is back there. Those kinds, I like some of the communities will have a little monument sign every few miles down the road. It talks about if you turn the next section, your business is going to be between this point A and point B, and the next one from point B to point C. And it helps when you don't have time to look because you're so busy, because the congestion on the highway is present during all the time. And so you better be paying attention to the traffic and not sit there trying to find the business that you're looking for. If we can help in those smaller ways, I think that would be really good. And also for business support, a place that they can walk into and get some quick information. And I think we talked about the word, it's in the agenda, of ombudsman. So there's a place where you can get an advocate that will help you manage some of these things. But as far as business assistance, that's how I would look at it right now. It's something that's attainable by us. We totally control that. We don't have to worry about someone, whether they want or not want to come into our community.
Maybe we could plan events kind of like shop locally for like the holidays or that sort of thing, where we promote the businesses in certain areas of town at different times of the year.
Well, those are the things I think that the chamber does well. Tourism, I think we've really hit our peak. Yours with DARTA, the Chamber of Commerce, and other community groups have I don't think we have to really put a lot of effort into promoting Yucca Valley right now. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, council. I think we're on to our last one. These are primarily internal to the organization, and we've identified a handful that we have heard or that we've been kicking around at different times. So based on some of the comments that we heard tonight, this will be even more important once we attain the council's priority. After you go through and identify what those priorities are, again, it'll be incumbent upon town staff to assess the primary needs of the organization and look at those areas where we're talking about expansion. What does that mean? What does that mean in terms of resources, in terms of additional staff? We talked about provision of expanded service assistance to small business. That doesn't happen by itself. That would likely result in a higher level of service if that's what we're going to do. That means that we're going to have additional staff that's going to assist in that effort. Along those same lines, developing an intentional and robust staff team with a vision toward comprehensive succession planning. The reality is we have a good number of young people in the organization. We also have a good number of senior folks that are getting closer to retirement. And so we want to make sure that we are always positioning the town to be successful irrespective of who's here, that it transcends any one individual. And so that'll be something that we'll be moving forward with. Another item that came up was possibly integrating volunteer forces a little bit more significantly. And there are some parts of our organization that lend better to that than others. You can think of the High Desert Nature Museum. Having a volunteer force there may be able to fit into that organization pretty easily. Others not as transparent or not as easy. And then lastly, and I think underpinning all of your discussion tonight, is ensuring the long-term fiscal stability of the town. So when we talk about adding service levels, or we talk about adding projects, talk about paving roads, maintaining dirt roads, that is likely going to need to expand on the fiscal stability of the town. And so, again, those are organizational efforts that we've identified, but we would be interested in hearing if the council has other things that you see internal to the organization that we need to have our eyes on.
All right, well, thank you very much for that. You want to lead us off, Councilmember Droz? Any comments?
I'll just say I think the town has a lot on its shoulders right now with all the projects going on and the aquatic center and everything like that. And I think we're right on track. I can't think of anything new to add to that. So that's great.
Councilmember Schooler?
Sure. Well, I think you could turn that list upside down and put long-term fiscal stability right at the top, because that's super important. And like Councilmember Droz said, we've got a lot of projects coming up, and I just hope we don't get sticker shock when we start opening bids on those. I think that's a possibility. So I would like to take a look a few months from now and kind of get a grip on what we've got coming down the pike and what we're committed to, and our ability to manage those projects and even to take on more. So I think as much as we talk about the wish list here tonight, I think that's critical that we that we address that, and I totally applaud staff. You've kept us solvent and better than solvent, and in a positive financial direction for a number of years now. And I think I feel very confident with our financial planning and financial staff, but still think that should be at the top of the list there. In terms of organizational needs and service expansion, I think well, and number two as well, the service assistance to small businesses. I think there might be a need if funding could allow it, or if reorganizing staff could allow it, to have maybe a concierge. That's not the right word, but it's an individual on staff that could help people and businesses navigate our systems. I think we've run into this several times where people deal with government for the first time here and really have no idea, what they need to do in terms of even getting a permit for a remodel or something like that, or that they even need that. I think they just run into us and might get frustrated that we have systems in place that they're expected to know about and expected to follow, but they don't know that. So I don't know how to bridge that, but if there was some sort of role for a staff member or a couple of staff members, I don't know, to help bridge that so that they don't feel alienated from their local government, right off of the bat, that they can learn how to do what they need to do, or that they need to even do anything, So anyway, just some way of connecting with the business community like that, and even individuals who have projects coming up. I think I really like that you put up there the, well, we'll call it succession planning. The staff is very good and has done a great job, but we are going to be seeing some people retire. And we've brought on a lot of younger people. I think if we could develop a path, a promotion path, a career path for each individual that comes in, and even find out if they're interested in career planning here at the town of Yucca Valley, these younger staff members, that we've got some impressive people coming in, but if we took an interest in them and showed them the path to, maybe advance into another role in X amount of time, and eventually into another role, and something that could show them how they can grow in this organization so that they don't really need to look elsewhere, and that we could retain them, as well as keeping in mind that we do have the younger people and the older people, and we've got to get that balance so that there is smooth transitions whenever there's a vacancy, and that people can cross-train and just for the long term, like you said, the long-term health of the organization, that we can move from step to step. I think we've talked in the past about a little bit more bandwidth in the administrative area. There seems to be some things that our town manager just can't get to that are important town manager things. And I think I would like to see us explore the possibilities there that can relieve him of some of the more routine responsibilities, so that we can he can get to the things the advanced kinds of things that we're expecting of him. We've talked about this a little bit before, but I would like to see us pursue that. There we go. And the volunteer forces, good point about the museum, that kind of lends itself similar to the Welcome Center, where there's a lot of volunteers that are completely dedicated to showing up every day at the Welcome Center and doing their job. I think the museum is well suited for that kind of a expansion of the force. And in days past, the museum did have a kind of a booster club, or it was the High Desert Nature Museum Association, which was very strong. And the individuals in that association showed up every day, took on roles, led people around, just helped staff immensely in putting up displays and so forth. So maybe the museum, maybe other places, but I think we do have opportunities for volunteer growth there. So I think that's my comments on that list.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem.
I agree with a lot of what Councilman Schooler said there. I'm one of those that really appreciates the volunteer force, and I think there's all sorts of opportunities for the town to partner with groups like the Elks and the Kiwanis and the Rotary on some of the events, maybe like car shows or farmers markets, or that the dedicated volunteer staff for the museum and that sort of thing. As long as we're providing them interesting things to do where they feel valued, and I think that helps make a more cohesive community too, when you feel that you're part of something that's an activity where you're getting some emotional reward as well as doing something well, something of value to the town and the community that is being served. And I think there's a lot of personal emotional growth and things that happen when you learn the value of volunteering, and I think that's something we want to encourage in our young people, and that's kind of why I was recommending that the Youth Commission get more involved in things. Ensuring the long-term fiscal stability of the town is very important, and I think that we need to continue to look at other ways to stabilize and improve the revenue sources for the town. The tax measure Y and Z was a really big benefit to the town and to the community. And I think it was one of those examples of, nobody likes a new tax, but I think it really went to good things, and it was well used and used to provide benefits to the entire town that you can physically see. So, and that's going to be coming up for a vote in the future, and we need to encourage that and have it, have everybody understand how important it is for the stability of the town to have those kind of things. There are other things that we possibly could look at, and we should keep our eyes open for those opportunities. The staff team with a vision towards comprehensive succession planning, it's the same kind of thing as the volunteers. When you hire a new employee, if they feel valued and that they're doing significant work that has meaning, and then you show them a plan where they can progress to do even better things or at a higher level with better pay, I think that's real critical, and I think that would be really helpful. I think we have very, very dedicated staff now, and so I feel kind of confident that in some manner or form is happening right now. The town is a great place to work, and it's evidenced by the fact that we have people that have worked here for so long and feel a vital part of our community. You can just tell people love doing their job right and doing that little bit extra to just make sure it's right. And we've seen it all the time, from our road crews that go out in the middle of the night to clean things up, to the people that do the events at the snow day, and they just go out of their way, all the different things that we do. And code enforcement and those kind of people, even they know that they're doing something useful and beneficial. So let's see what else. I'm not opposed to more assistance or more help if that's presented to us to help with administrative functions, or to free up the town manager's time by handling other responsibilities at a different level. We did that a lot in the dental practice. You delegate the jobs to the people that could do it, and trying to take away the upper management's job of doing, the more common, repetitive things. But and I can see that kind of in the town too. This is very organized, kind of similar in a way, or I see enough similarities. It's not really the same at all, but I can see the need for that. And so the more time we can free up for the people that have a heavy load, and if we can make economic sense of hiring another person, then I think we should go forward with it.
All right, we good?
That's it.
I just want to say I really appreciate seeing a nice stream of new employees coming to our town. They're very engaged and interested in the positions, so when we have new employee introductions, it's always great. And it's nice when people, we see people retiring out. It's a sad moment. We'll see a few more in the near future, but it shows the town is doing the right things in that point where they're staying and making this their career. So I'm very proud of that. Everything else, we're very well positioned in the organization. I don't have anything to say.
Let me finish up your conversation this evening. I do want to thank the council for going through this process. It is a little bit outside of our normal town council meetings, but at the same time, the council has asked for these types of dialogues, and I think the community hopefully will appreciate the open and transparent conversation that takes place. Sometimes it feels like we're making sausage through this process, but at the end of the day, I will give you an example of where it ends up, and that is in your 2020 initiatives and idea discussion. The Yucca Valley Airport and assistance for that at that time struggling public entity was identified as a priority. And through Measure Y, the Yucca Valley Airport received an allocation of $90,000 to help with their effort. This past week, the council had the opportunity to see the ribbon cutting there of their new runway, which was somewhere, I think, around $750,000 project. But their comments were very telling in that it wouldn't have been possible, and they didn't have the momentum until they had the funding provided by the town through Measure Y. So all of that for the discussions that take place at this dais and in these workshops, ultimately, many of them come forward and are made a reality through this process. So thank you for that. Just to sum up, we'll summarize what we heard tonight. It'll end up in some type of priority ranking because we have a lot of things on there. Some had consensus, some didn't have consensus. And so this will give us the ranking in your strategic plan, whether it's a high, medium, or lower priority for the upcoming planning period. That will come back to you probably in your second meeting in November, and then your final strategic plan will be available in December. That will then lead into your fiscal year 2024 through 2026 budget, which will be approved in spring of next year. So that's that. I appreciate the comments and the input, Mayor, on this item. It might be appropriate for you to take any public comment if anyone's still
Yeah,
awake.
thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us, kind of move around a little bit. I think we went off script a couple times. So thank you very much for that. It looks like we're down to a pretty skeleton audience now. Do we have anyone online? We don't? So if there is anyone in here that would like to speak on public comment, this is your opportunity. So I guess I bumped ahead. I was going to first bring up any future agenda items, but personally, I think we've given you enough today. Anything else? Okay, and then no one on comment online? Okay. So with that, we'll be able to move forward with staff reports and comments.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll try and keep these brief. Captain, you have anything to start with?
I will. A couple of things briefly is I'd also like to say that I'm very grateful for Susanna with Unity Home. We've had, as you can imagine, in both of our lines of work, we interface quite a bit, and we've had some good conversations of what we're doing right and how we can do better. I was at the fundraiser dinner last year. My wife and I will be there on the 28th, and I'd just like to encourage anybody in the public to attend, as well as anybody in this room today. It's really cool. In addition to them fundraising, it's a great night where they bring up some domestic violence survivors, and you can put those who are really brave and let you put a face with the name and tell their story and how Unity Home has helped them out. It's pretty impressive, so I'd encourage people to attend. Lastly, as you know, our bloodhound, Najee, has arrived. We just welcomed her on social media about half an hour ago, so I've been looking at cute doggy pictures. As you know, we plan to bring her to you next month at Coffee with the Mayor, as well as a council meeting. So she's down in Rancho Cucamonga getting some training for a couple of weeks so we can make sure we get her started on the right foot. but she is very anxious to meet you, and you're going to love her. I know you've seen pictures, but you're going to love her even more in person, so she's fantastic.
Well, thank you for that. That's wonderful.
Deborah, Alex, anything?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, just one thing to mention. The time is here. This coming Thursday at 2 o'clock, we will be opening the bids for the Aquatic Center. The bid opening will be happening in this room, so if you'd like to join us and hear the numbers firsthand, be more happy to join it, This coming Thursday at 2 p.m., yes.
Oh, okay.
Here in
I'm
this room.
around.
That's it.
Great news.
Thank you. Sue, you have anything?
Just a reminder that we have our Spooktacular coming up October 28th from noon to 4 here at the Community Center. And then we will be having a Senior Center Halloween party on Halloween.
Nice. Shane?
Next Tuesday, Planning Commission, hopefully staff will be assisting the commission in wrapping up their work on regulations for special events in residential zones and on the branding, mascots, and statue issue. Commission has put in 2 very long policy discussion nights on both of those items. They may not finish next Tuesday. They don't have a specific deadline. That's our goal, but the hearings are scheduled for next Tuesday.
Thank you, Shane, and thank you to the Planning Commission for their yeoman's work on that so far. You can bring up some pictures. I'm not going to, I told the guys I have, I think, 67 pictures. We're not going to go through 67 pictures. But this was a site visit that we had at Estes Valley Community Center, Rec Center, that was a mix of an old facility as well as a brand-new facility. And it's very similar to what we have in our Yucca Valley Aquatic Center. It has a component that has a competitive pool, has a recreational element and pool as well. There's this little wave pool and then a zero-depth entry. We were there about 10 in the morning, and so there was not a whole lot of kids there yet, but in the afternoons, it fills up quite a bit. And so they were very gracious. They walked us through the entire facility, spent a good 3 hours with us walking through how they run things, what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it. This is the old side of the building that they rehabilitated. The existing pool was there and they just redid it. I was quite, I guess, comforted by the fact that most of the items that we heard that they wish they didn't do or that they would have done differently were things that we had thought of. And I give full credit to our whole staff that went out about 2 years ago prior to our design process on the Yucca Valley Aquatic Center and visited, I think, 6 different sites in Colorado and spent a good amount of time listening and talking and understanding kind of the ins and outs of developing a rec facility like we have with the Yucca Valley Aquatic Center. So very grateful to the facility, and it was a great time. Very, very similar, maybe a little bit bigger on office and multi-purpose space. It also functions as a senior center and has a kind of a daily activity that they had with seniors in there as well. So, but pretty cool to see the different elements of that, and again, really excited to see how that's going to translate. Hopefully with what we see on Tuesday, a little bit of nervousness on Thursday with our bids opening up, but excitement as well. So really, really excited about that. Mayor, I think that's it for staff comments tonight. Again, thank you for your patience on this item.
Oh, you're welcome. It's nice to see, and I do remember a couple of years ago when they had done the tour, so it's good to know that you found out, you validated that was very needed and very welcome. All right, we'll bring it back to council members. Council Member Abel.
Yeah, I want to thank the Planning Commission. They did have a very, very long meeting. I was able to watch that remotely, and they did an excellent job navigating quite a few complicated and well-presented projects and ideas and policies. So our commission is just doing a fantastic job. Planning Commission does a lot of heavy lifting for us as a council. So I want to thank them for all their hard work. I was very impressed with the public input as well as also the consistent inquiry and also consistent homework that they all did. They did a great job in being up on all the issues and also being able to navigate quite a few. And they had great discussion, so I thought it was a wonderful and well-run meeting. That's all for me. I would like to see if our council wants to extend a invitation to our state assembly member for the District 47, Greg Wallace, to come and give us some type of an update or presentation. So if we could, if we're in agreement, to extend a invitation to Greg to have him come out here and speak to us about what's going on at the state level.
I would welcome him, yeah.
Ditto about the planning commission. That was a long meeting. I watched it a couple days later on the town website. And I do want to mention one of our pioneers from Yucca Valley, who was a developer, Don Lander, passed away today. So you might keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. And he was 92, I believe, but he built a lot of houses up here. Anyway, and also I just want to wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. I think we don't have a meeting till after Thanksgiving, so. Or not Thanksgiving, Halloween. You caught me on that, darn it. Halloween. So drive safe out there Halloween evening. Thanks.
All right, Council Member Schooler.
Oh, I agree with the comments about the Planning Commission. I attended that meeting, and I was very impressed by the professionalism and research homework that they did in preparation for that meeting. And also thank you to Susanna Barnett for coming and telling us about Unity Home, and also encourage people to go to that fundraiser on the 28th. And I think that's about it for me.
And Mayor Pro Tem?
I attended a Park and Rec Commissioners meeting and found that we really do have good commissioners in all the different areas. The Planning Commission is doing a lot of work on some heavy projects right now, and the Park and Rec are busy with all the things going on too. So we're well served by our commissioners, and I want to thank them and our staff for all that they do. I like the little diagrams that we've had in the past that shows what projects are completed and what are partway completed and what haven't been started. And it's really impressive to see all the things that happen in 1 year and how we've made progress on so many fronts. So I want to thank everybody for their hard work on that. And that's about it. Have a happy Halloween and stay safe. Thank you for keeping us safe out there.
And good discussion tonight. Thank you, everybody, for bringing something to the table. It was a good discussion, and I appreciate it very much. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Our next scheduled meeting will be held Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 at 6 p.m. right here in the Yucca Valley Community Room. This meeting is adjourned.